What's going on, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your advanced look at the Phoenix Omnibus Volume 1 from Marvel Comics. So, let's take a look at this together. Before getting started, I want to give a huge thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on June 1st or May 31st, depending on where you get your books. But here, what we're looking at is the standard edition cover by Russell Dauterman. On the left-hand side is your direct market cover by Rick Leonardi. And let me tell you something. This was hard to choose which cover, but there's just something about this Dauterman cover that just speaks to me. It is freaking gorgeous, and I love the colors on it. Rick Leonardi, though, is one of my favorite artists. Alright, so let's take a closer look at this. Just for completest sake, I'm sure I'm going to be asked what exactly is in here. Has the stuff already been collected? Yes, it has been collected. This is just focusing on the story of Jean Grey / Phoenix and when she became the Dark Phoenix. This was actually previously collected as X-Men The Dark Phoenix Saga Omnibus. It's the exact same mapping. Let's take a look at the spine here. Phoenix, Claremont, Byrne, Cockrum. There's the image of the Dark Phoenix. Volume 1. So, of course, curious what you all would put in a Volume 2. And what the covers are that are collected in here. The story that changed comics. It's an understatement there. Now, I want to show this, though. I love the design of this dust jacket. I hardly take the dust jackets off to talk about the flaps, but I love that. I think this is awesome. Here, so you can get a better idea of what it looks like. I think this is a great design for a dust jacket. I love the color tones that they use. I'm assuming the direct market, the back is exactly the same. The book retails for $100. Now, let's take a look at it underneath the dust jacket here. So again, it's the image by Russell Dauterman without the logo. Phoenix, the exact same image as you saw on the spine. And then in case you didn't get the direct market cover, here it is again by Rick Leonardi. Okay, so let's get this book open, talk about the stories that are in here, what's collected, of course, the build of the book, and then compare it to, keep in mind, though, I have the first printings of Uncanny Volume 1 and 2. So, I mean, those things have been out for a decade. But let's go ahead and get this open and talk about the things I just mentioned. Alright, let's crack this open. Of course, you have to go with the yellow end paper. It's almost like a gold. And here's an image by Arthur Adams, Phoenix. Your creators, so all the credits here, the table of contents, and the Phoenix logo in the back. And then kicking it off with Uncanny XMen 97, or as it was known back then, just X-Men 97. So this does collect X-Men, but it is Uncanny, keep that in mind, 97 to 108. But it skips issue 106. I do want to make that clear. And issue 106 is sort of a fill-in issue anyway. It's the Fire Lord kind of fight, but there's a flashback with evil Professor X that kind of, well, if you've read Onslaught, they always go back to that particular story. That was kind of a fill-in. But it does collect 97 to 108 and skipping issue 106. And then, of course, the Dark Phoenix Saga 125 to 138. It also has the Phoenix Untold Story and then material from Classic X-Men number 6, 8, 13, 18, 24, and 43. Bizarre Adventures 27 and What If number 27. And I believe that is What If Phoenix Had Not Died. So in here you're going to find the work of Dave Cockrum, John Byrne, Chris Claremont, Mary Jo Duffy, John Bolton, of course, doing the classic issues. And then you have inks by Terry Austin. Alright, so let's talk about the story. We kick off with Uncanny X-Men 97. And this is the story where Professor Xavier starts having nightmares about this bug-like creature. We have the return of Alex and Lorna, and then we have this character known as Eric the Red. Now, if you've been reading X-Men for a while, if you've read it before this, you know Eric the Red was a costume that Cyclops wore. So who the heck is this Eric the Red? And can he be the real Eric the Red? Well, it turns out that he's a space traveler, and he has a lot to do with those dreams that Professor Xavier is having, or those nightmares, rather. We're also introduced to this character of Stephen Lang, which will send out the Sentinels, and I think he's been portrayed in the movies. Was it Peter Dinklage? I think that's who it was. But anyway, I love this. This is the Christmas issue. We have some little guest stars popping up, like Nick Fury there. And, of course, the biggest guest stars are Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, talking about how kids these days are just running around kissing. And Jack mentions, they never did that kind of stuff when we were on the book. And Stan says, yeah, the youth these days, they got no respect. So this is the big classic fight against the Sentinels. And eventually what this is going to do, I'm going to skip some pages. All this, of course, drawn by Dave Cockrum, written by Chris Claremont, is take the X-Men to space. That's what this does. So I'm not going to go into detail as to why they go to space, but they do go to space. Then they have to fight the original X-Men here, all led by Professor Xavier. Of course, whenever you're dealing with a guy that makes Sentinel robots, it's not all what it seems. The most important thing about issue 100, though, is that Jean, in this particular issue, makes an ultimate sacrifice. She decides to crash land the spaceship while the X-Men are safe, and she knows that she's going to be absorbing all this radioactive stuff. You could go one way or the other in the Marvel Universe. You either get superpowers, like the Fantastic Four, because of the cosmic rays, or you can die. Or, in the case of Jean, something else happens. So when the shuttle crash lands into Earth, this was so interesting. Jean comes out of the water, and she's talking about, I am fire and life incarnate. I am Phoenix. What? Like, if I were Scott, I'm like, man, my girlfriend's kind of crazy, but also kind of hot. She just got out of the water screaming, I am Phoenix. Has she been possessed by some kind of goddess? So that's pretty much the origin of the Phoenix, or her first appearance, rather. There is an origin story, which comes later, and as a matter of fact, it had been retconned. So the issues of Classic X-Men will fill you all in with what exactly was going on during that particular time. So we get more Dave Cockrum stories. We get the trip to, this is the Cassidy Keep, issue 103. And for the first time ever, Wolverine gets called Logan. That's right, in issue 103, this one right here, Wolverine's name is revealed to be Logan. By the way, this is what all the issues look like. They're framed around this particular color pattern. But yes, Wolverine gets called Logan by a leprechaun. That is the iconic moment when you are revealed who Wolverine is, and it was a leprechaun that called him that. As a kid, I didn't see that coming. I don't know what it was like reading this monthly, but that would have taken me by surprise. Here's the big fight with the Juggernaut, and of course Black Tom Cassidy. Juggernaut already being an established character, Black Tom kind of being introduced through these pages and having relations to Sean Cassidy there. And we have the return of Magneto, because that is the classic villain. Now, throughout all these pages, Phoenix does play a role, and then we still have Professor Xavier talking to this intergalactic being more and more, and then it is revealed that this intergalactic being is this really super hot lady named Lilandra. And Professor Xavier's like totally crushing on her. He's all about this lady. I mean, look at those curves. Rightly so. I could do without the feathers, but them hips though. Alright, so there's this big fight between Phoenix and Firelord, and this shows how powerful Phoenix is. And what's I mentioned earlier, this goes from 105 to 107. Again, 106 being like a fill-in issue. 106 at the end of 105, the X-Men go through a space bridge, if you will, and we end up going to where the Shi'ar are, and we get to meet the Imperial Guard. We get to meet the evil Emperor here. This is Lilandra's brother. There's Eric the Red, and there's a big fight with the Imperial Guard. Again, this is all Dave Cockrum. As a matter of fact, this is Dave Cockrum's final issue, because the Starjammers. So there are so many introductions in this. And then we have John Byrne's first issue. This is still Dave Cockrum supplying the covers. But we have John Byrne coming in as the ongoing artist. Wolverine is wearing Fang's outfit. And the Imperial Guard is kind of like a mockery a little bit of the Legion of Superheroes. So a lot of the costumes and powers seem very similar. So now we're starting to see the X-Men have ties to space. And that's mainly due to the character of Phoenix, Jean Grey. And if you don't know what exactly is happening, I'm not gonna spoil that in case you've never read these stories. But now we skip all the way to issue 125 to kind of give you a recap. The X-Men go to the Savage Land. Beast and Jean and Professor Xavier think the X-Men are dead because, well, Magneto took them and they landed in this Arctic place. But everybody's reunited in issue 125 and 126, again drawn by John Byrne. Now Jean is making friends with this priest who plays an important role in all of this. And now she starts having visions herself. You know how like Professor Xavier was having nightmares about Lilandra, and it turned out that, hey, she's actually my freaking soulmate. Well, now Jean is having these daydreams about this man right here, this good-looking dude named Jason Wingard. And that is going to have an effect on her. She's having these, almost like a past life experience, like they were living in America back in the early colonies. So she doesn't know what's real and what isn't throughout this. Here's the Mutant X Saga, and of course this is the Proteus Saga. This is the son of Moira McTaggart, who plays a big nemesis role. This changes the life of Colossus. After this, you get to see Wolverine actually be scared for the very first time. And this is a mutant that kind of hops from body to body and kills off the host of the previous body. So whomever he jumps into, you're pretty much dead. And that's what Proteus is. The reason they were on Muir Island, though, is so they could do experiments on Jean. They want to see what her full potential is, especially after that fight with Firelord. So Moira steps in to try to figure out exactly how powerful Jean is. And they come to learn that, damn, she's kind of tapped into this whole galactic power. But you can find out for yourself how the Proteus Saga ends. And it leads directly into the next saga. And a lot of people speculate really when the Dark Phoenix Saga begins. To me, the Dark Phoenix Saga begins here with the first appearance of two very important characters. And that is Catherine Kitty Pryde and the White Queen, Emma Frost. Now, again, through all these issues, Jean is having these flashbacks or these previous life that she's lived. And it's kind of making her snap a little bit and question her own sanity. But she doesn't tell anybody about it, you know, because that's what you do in a drama or in a TV show or a comic. And yes, here's Kitty Pryde. There's hot Emma Frost. You know, nobody ever cosplays as hot Emma Frost with glasses storming out of Kitty's apartment there. But yes, this is when we're introduced to those characters. We're also introduced to the character of Dazzler. This is a John Romita Jr. cover. But John Byrne supplying all the artwork here. Now we're introduced to the concept of these characters, of these rich mutants that live a high society, this underground high society known as the Hellfire Club. That's what the White Queen is part of, and that's where Jason Wingard is part of, so he kind of gets Jean Grey to come and join him. So we see this dark side to Jean Grey. She's wearing this super hot outfit there, and more we get to see him manipulate her, betray her friends, and she becomes the Black Queen of the Hellfire Club. And of course, my turn. Oh, this first solo issue featuring my favorite character of all time, where Wolverine just goes and beats the living crap out of the Hellfire Club. So all these guys get their butts whooped by Wolverine. And eventually, some of these guys, like Cole and Malcolm, they become part of the Reavers. This is where Wolverine, cuts a bunch of limbs off, and that's why they become Reavers. But you get to know all that when you read all this. So the X-Men now are prisoners of the Hellfire Club, all led by Sebastian Shaw. They're just having fun with the X-Men. Jean, meanwhile, is just snapping. She has no idea which life is real, whether the past is real, whether Jason Wingard is really her husband. And eventually, all of this, at the end of issue 134, leads into the Dark Phoenix. And then we have the final issues of this arc, which is issue 135, 136, 137, and then the aftermath in 138. Again, all of this drawn by John Byrne. Now the Shi'ar gets involved. Jean does some horrible, unforgivable crime as the Phoenix, as Dark Phoenix. But the X-Men are able to stop her. They're able to put this damper on her for her to stop using her powers. However, because of her past crimes, the Shi'ar get involved and say, no, she needs to be put on trial. And she, if found guilty, she will be sentenced to death. So the X-Men are like, no way. And Cyclops is like, hell no. That's my lady. I mean, the Kree and the Skrull get involved, so they send representatives of their own race. And the X-Men decide to fight for the life of Jean Grey. If they win, Jean gets to live. If they fall, then Jean dies at the hands of the Shi'ar. Well, I'm not going to reveal what happens there. I'm pretty sure most of you that have read stories, not back then, but just know the story of Phoenix in general, end up knowing what happens. And then we get issue 138, which is the Aftermath issue, which is just Cyclops retelling his life with the X-Men. Now, let's get to the extras, or not the extras rather, but the other issues that are collected in here, like the classic X-Men. So these show backup stories of Jean, mainly primarily focusing on her even before she became the Phoenix. So from issue 6 and 8. Issue 8, I'm going to skip through here because this actually tells you the origin of Phoenix, and it was written after the retcon that happened in the pages of X Factor. So part of me wishes it had been collected in between the issues it belonged in. So in between like issues 100 and 101. But then I thought, well, then people would actually know the truth. So maybe it's better to wait until the back of the book where it's revealed. I don't know, so I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I'm glad they're collected in here. I think this book would have been... I think, the Phoenix Saga by itself, without the classic issues, is completely fine. But I think this definitely expands on the experience of reading this particular story. So you have a lot of Mary Jo Duffy stories back here. John Bolton supplying most of the artwork. Gorgeous art. Then there's a couple of characters that are introduced through here that don't really get introduced in canon until much later. Now, the interesting thing of what's collected in here, because I mentioned that just about everything that's in here has been previously collected. And this has too. This is from Bizarre Adventures 27. However, I don't have the original Dark Phoenix Saga Omnibus, so please correct me if I'm wrong. This is the first time I've seen this particular story collected in color. Because even in the Omnis, it's collected in black and white. In this, they colorized, or they used the color masters from the 2017 reprint of this particular story. So, that is one thing that is missing, the colors from the previous collections. So if you have like the Omnibus, I think this is collected in Omnibus Volume 2, if I'm not mistaken. Those are collected in black and white, whereas here it's in color. And then, of course, you have the untold story of Phoenix. I remember this single issue. It was one of my prized possessions because I would always tell my friends, that's not the original ending, right? I was one of those kids. I just got overexcited about X-Men. I'm 44 years old now, and I still get overexcited about X-Men. But yeah, I was the kid that was like, that's not the real ending, right? Actually, bam! I throw the issue down. They were like, what is this? I'm like, this is the original ending. But editors got involved. Things happen. And yeah, then there's a whole interview back here with John Byrne, Jim Salicrup, Chris Claremont, Terry Austin. Then we had the What If Phoenix Had Not Died. There's the cover by Frank Miller. The story is actually written by Mary Jo Duffy, and the artwork is Jerry Bingham. But again, this has been collected in a What If collection, so if you have those, I think it's in Omnibus Volume 2. And then in here are the introductions by Stan Lee for the different collected editions, by Chris Claremont for the different collected editions, some original artwork for the unused, or unpublished rather, issue 138 of Uncanny. As well as the pencils, the handbook there, the different designs for the costume of the Phoenix, some pinup. This, of course, being the pinup that they use for the variant cover. This is from a 1986 press poster. And then the trading cards. All this time, I really thought that was Mark Bagley, but it turned out to be Brett Blevins that drew that particular trading card. And of course, the Jim Lee one. That's the Mark Bagley card. Classic X-Men covers collected as thumbnails. And then we have, okay, this is the back covers right here of the stories that were collected in here. Different covers for the trade paperbacks and reprints. Because this story is probably one of the most famous stories and has been collected in many different formats. And then you have some original art pages. It's weird to see it in thumbnail size. I'm used to seeing original art pages in splash pages. So this book right here has 688 pages. Again, retails for $100. But let's take a look at the spine and the binding and then compare or do a quick comparison to where the stories have been collected previously. So here is that eye, or rather lack of one. Not much of an eye there for 688 pages. So we're going to look at a couple of pages here. So you are going to get a gutter curve there that gives you a bit of gutter loss. It's not so bad here, but when you get to the Stephen Lang page, yeah, right here, it's like you have to hold it down to see his face. So it's because of that gutter curve right here and the way that this book is bound. But, I mean, honestly, when you get to the middle and there are a lot of spread pages here, it's not bad. I mean, the book lays over nice. Now, comparing this, and I think this is a real unfair comparison because I'm one of those idiots that never upgraded my Uncanny XMen Omnibus. This is still my first printing. So this is one of those thick boys. You can tell the pages are getting a little bit yellowish, and I've taken care of this one. But there are reasons why I cannot get rid of this book. And this is pretty much a lot of the reasons why I can't get rid of this book, and it will forever be in my collection. So even when Marvel sent me review copies of the newer printings, I ended up giving those away during our anniversary or celebration of, like, I think 50,000, 60,000 subscribers. All right, but let's do a comparison to see. Like, I think it's unfair to compare the way the book lays over, though, because this is a book from, oh my gosh, you know, one of the first ones from 2004. That Omnibus Volume 1 up at the top is from 2004, has been read so many times, so that spine has been properly opened several times. But yes, this is what the difference looks like. I really wish I had kept the recent reprints of Volume 1 and Volume 2, just so I could compare the paper. Because of course, you know, 2004, this book is almost 20 years old, and they were using thicker it's a different paper, obviously, than what they're using here. And the other thing that this is missing too is, of course, the letter pages. I guess it wouldn't make any sense to put letter pages in there. Let's look at Volume 2. Again, first printing of Uncanny Volume 2, and compare it to this omnibus. I mean, the frame is different, of course, but let's take a look at some internal pages here. Like Wolverine. And again, the paper quality is different. It's interesting because I almost bought the Dark Phoenix Saga Omnibus because there was no sign of an Omnibus Volume 2, and it was about 5 years, and I almost caved and said, okay, I'm going to buy that Dark Phoenix Omnibus because it collects the rest of the Dark Phoenix Saga. And then about a year later, we ended up getting Uncanny Volume 2. So that's right. Back then, we had to wait years between volumes. Now everybody is like, where's Uncanny Volume 5? Man, you all don't know what it was like back then. So again, because of the paper quality, there is some bleed through from the artwork on the opposite page. It's a lot less noticeable in the thicker paper that they use back here. And again, just looking at the colors and everything, but colors look identical, honestly. This is printed at the iMac printer, and this one here, it was printed at the Donley printer. And now that I think about it, I think this came out in 2014, so that was almost 10 years worth of waiting for us to get a Volume 2 of Uncanny X-Men. It was more than 6 years. So, yeah, that's the comparison there. If you're interested in just having a story featuring the Phoenix, you know, this is more like their Loki and Doctor Doom Omnibus. And hopefully with that Volume 1 here, might mean we get some modern stories collecting the Phoenix. That would be cool. I'd love to see that X-Men Red collected somewhere in oversized format. But that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this book, no matter which cover you're going to get, don't forget to check out our sponsors. CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. If you live in Europe and are interested in pre-ordering or purchasing Omnis, then you should definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices for Marvel and DC big books within the EU. Flat shipping of €9.90 for EU countries, extremely careful and sturdy packaging, emails are answered within 24 hours, and they have a superb selection of new releases and out-of-print books on their website. Just head over to waltzcomicshop.com for more great deals and rare titles. And for a limited time, you can use the code NEARMINTCONDITION, all one word, at the checkout for free shipping to all EU countries with your first order. Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for Omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. That was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know if you're picking this up, if you're a huge Phoenix fan, or if you're getting it for somebody that loves Jean Grey, or if, you're happy with your Uncanny X-Men Volume 1 and 2 Omnis and the X-Men Classic Omnibus. All that stuff that is in here has been collected in those, with the exception of the Color Bizarre Adventures. But everything else has been collected before. And my other big question is, would you buy this if you knew a Volume 2 was coming so you don't have a Volume 2 on the shelf? Or are you okay without a Volume 1 and owning a Volume 2 on the shelf? I'm always curious as to what people think about these things. Leave those comments down below. If you have any more questions, leave your questions down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. We are on Spreadshop and Patreon. Amazing ways to support the channel if you can do so, and thank you to our existing patrons. Could not be making videos like this possible without you all. And more importantly, everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.